Hey everybody, Max Rich here, and that was a Charlie Parker song called Blues for Alice. At least it was one time through the melody. There's a bunch of different recorded versions of the song, but today what we're going to talk about is just the jazz standard itself. Charlie Parker, as I'm sure you know, if you're here to learn the song, then you probably know, he was just like the quintessential bebop saxophone player. He's sort of like the Jimi Hendrix of the saxophone, kind of. As far as the jazz world is concerned, he's an absolute legend, and in particular, his ability to craft harmonies and melodies and sort of intertwine them in what was at the time a really unique way. Since then, it's been done a zillion times over because, let's face it, Charlie Parker was alive in the 40s, so it's been a couple years since he was around. But in any case, today's lesson, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the harmony and the melody of the song and sort of how they interact. And the intricacies of the harmony, right? Because if you're at all familiar with jazz, which I hope you are, because I'm going to use terms that you really kind of got to be familiar with, you have to have at least a basic understanding of jazz theory if you want to even begin to tackle Charlie Parker. Because Charlie Parker is not, your very beginner level jazz. It's at least an intermediate level. So you need to be able to know what dominant chords are, all types of seventh chords. And then you need to also sort of understand flat 9, sharp 9, maybe you don't know immediately how to play, an A7 flat 9 chord, but at least you can begin to figure it out. That's where you need to kind of be theoretically in order to understand this lesson. And what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the harmonies and sort of how they are crafted and how the melodies sort of lay on top of them. Because one thing that jazz does really well, and sort of the foundation of jazz, is playing relatively simplistic melodies with complex harmony underneath it, complex chords underneath it. And that's what gives that jazzy sound, that sort of a very complex, difficult sound to the melody, even though the melody itself is not that difficult when you just play it alone. And so we're going to talk about all of that in context of the song Blues for Alice. And it's a really, really good way to broaden your understanding of jazz, how to play jazz bebop lines, and also how to kind of play jazz harmonies that aren't your typical 2-5-1 progression. So there's a lot to be learned and a lot to cover, so let's not waste any time. Let's get started right now.